Continuing along the road to Doomsday, we are continuing in Phase 2 with Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Now, you might be thinking, the last one you did was Iron Man 3. Doesn't Thor the Dark World come after Iron Man 3? And to that answer, yes it does. I just didn't want to watch Thor the Dark World. And so I'm not skipping over entirely. I'll come back and I'll review it, but I'm not going to lie. I'm already on to Avengers Infinity War, and I plan on watching that and the other ones this weekend. I have to watch The Dark World first. Not excited, especially after, if you haven't been keeping up with the series, the first Thor is so far my least favorite one. But I want to talk about The Winter Soldier, because I watched The Winter Soldier because that's actually a fun movie to watch. Who knows? Maybe I'll like The Dark World. I used to like it. I just have a feeling I'll hate it just like I do the first one. We're getting a little bit off track. Captain America the Winter Soldier was a movie, when I first saw it, I did not like. Quite like every single other Captain America movie. My first watch, I thought it was a little weird, and I didn't really like it. But on subsequent rewatches, I learned that it was really good. However, I'm still in the minority here, because I think Captain America the Winter Soldier is a little tiny bit overrated. Before I give you my review, if you would subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, and use that comment section wisely. Tell me your thoughts on Captain America the Winter Soldier. And with that said, when I say overrated, it does not mean I think the movie's bad in the slightest. It is a very good movie. I just don't love it. Like, everybody holds it up here. You see, you can't even see my hand anymore. That's how high everyone holds it. I hold it to, like, right here. Right here. Like, right now, I've seen 20 of the MCU projects, because, honestly, I've skipped around a little bit. I rewatched all the Spider-Man MCU movies, so I've added them to the ranking. But what I've seen in the MCU, on this whole rewatch journey, I have this, like, 6 or 7. 6, 7. I had to. Okay. Alright. I'm sorry. We're getting a little bit distracted. But I had it around that area. And there are many things I love about this movie, and my favorite thing about The Winter Soldier is the story of The Winter Soldier and the arcs that this movie takes. Where I just love the whole S.H.I.E.L.D. is falling, Hydra's taken over S.H.I.E.L.D., that kind of aspect. And it is one of my all-time favorite arcs inside of the entire MCU. I just love seeing S.H.I.E.L.D., this corporation that had, you know, a little bit of controversy in the Avengers, finally be like, who's good, who's bad, what's actually going on here. I love, love, love that arc, and the story is great, and of course, it's awesome with the Winter Soldier and Steve, and obviously the Winter Soldier's Bucky, so that little dynamic there. The story is really well done, and I did like it. I'll talk a little bit more about that later in this review, but the arcs out of this film are really good too. Steve Rogers has a great arc in this movie. Steve's arc is about trying to find his place in the world 70 years later. 70 years later, trying to find his place in this world. And it is such a well-done arc and well thought out with his relationship with everybody else, the stuff that he does, and the themes that this movie explores, especially with the Winter Soldier being his friend Bucky. His arc is really effective, and all the characters and their inclusions are great as well. This is one that introduces the Falcon, who's a fan favorite character, who is, you know, nowadays MCU, he's Captain America, but still, he was the Falcon, and this was his introduction. It's a very good introduction. It doesn't feel forced into the movie whatsoever. It's got the iconic opening scene, and then just the flying stuff is great. We'll talk about the action here before too long. But then Black Widow, her inclusion in the movie, I think is really well done as well. And I think that this is the first movie in the MCU. Like, the Avengers, she started to feel like a character. When in Iron Man 2, she was just the spy. And the Avengers, she started to feel like a character. Well, in here, she goes on her own little arc. And her relationship with Steve, the relationship between Scarlett Johansson and Chris Evans, is great, and they have great chemistry. And also Anthony Mackie in there. His chemistry with them is great as well. So I know I touched on the Winter Soldier and how much I love the arc of Steve and Bucky. I think the Winter Soldier is a really cool villain. Obviously, you got like the scenes of him just completely being a menace, whether it's the finale scene where he's just kicking people into plane engines and he's just absolutely wasting guys. But also, time out. You hear that squeaking noise? That's my washing machine. Alright? But you also got the highway action scene, and just his fight style, his design, it's cool, it's awesome. I love the Winter Soldier and how brutal he is. And that brings us to the action, and I kind of touched on it so far in this video with the arc and all the characters. The action in this movie is some of the MCU's best, if not the MCU's best action ever. It all starts out with a great opening sequence, but then it continues on with the elevator fight sequence, which is a standout, but then the longer the movie goes on, you get stuff like the highway fight sequence, which might just be the best set piece in any Marvel film ever. And then you get the finale, which is just really entertaining and has some great hand-to-hand combat. This is the Russo brothers' first MCU film. This is their first film. The people, that did Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, they're doing Doomsday. This is their first film. And what an audition tape it is. The way they direct the action. Not saying that the action in the movies before this are bad, because they're definitely not. But this one clears by far. The action, the cinematography, the way this movie looks great. There are many shots that are just completely mind-blowing. Cinematography's great. But combine that with the action, the score, which just adds to this intense vibe of the movie, it all really works. And it works for a very good, very effective, very thrilling spy thriller. And that's what this movie is at its core. It's a spy thriller in the MCU, and I think it works. And it is highly watchable for the most part. And it's one that, every time I watch it, I might not fully love it, but I'm always like, oh, that was cool. Oh, that was good. But again, like I said, I don't fully love it. And so let's start talking about the things that I'm not the biggest fan of in Captain America the Winter Soldier. Number one, there are a lot of goofy elements to this movie. Like I said, I do love the spy thriller. I think it adds some intensity, and it feels like a real threat. But then you combine all the, grounded Captain America fighting people with guns on the highway, and them, the terrorist attacks, all that grounded stuff. Then you combine that with Captain America going to an underground bunker and finding an AI robot thing that took the conscience of a man and now he's just a robot. That's goofy. And I am all for comic book movies being goofy, because comic books, believe it or not, are not realistic. Believe it or not, people can't actually build Iron Man suits and fly around and fight crime. People cannot be Batman. People do not freeze in the ocean and come back 70 years later. No. But when you have, robot stuff, the tones feel very inconsistent through a chunk of the film. And, you'll be watching this and you'll be on the edge of your seat. You'll be excited to know what happens next. And then it's revealed that it's an AI robot thing. And it just, tones feel really inconsistent through a chunk of the movie. But probably my big issue with this one is it is a little bit too long. And I'm always a little exhausted by the time I finish this movie. And that is just a me problem personally. 110% a problem that is my fault. But I feel exhausted every time I watch this movie, because this is a movie that does so much. You got the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D., the rise of Hydra, the Winter Soldier, revealing it to be Bucky, the inclusion of the Falcon, Black Widow, and like I said, I don't think the characters themselves add to the feeling of it being overstuffed. And I don't necessarily think it's the fact that it's overstuffed. I just think it's 2.5 hours long. You got all this stuff happening. It's constantly able to be thrilling and effective. So every time you enter the third act, it's like, oh, you still got another big, massive action set piece. I'm a little tired. I'm a little exhausted. And like I said, it is my fault. It's just a personal thing. And I know that everybody else will watch this movie and not feel the same level of exhaustion I do. But just every time I watch this one, I just feel like it's too long, and I'm a little bit over it by the time we enter the third act. And, that, again, that's not, this big problem. That's not saying the Winter Soldier's, bad or anything or not watchable, because it is a very good watch. It is a very fun watch. but it has so many elements, and I get a little over it every time I watch it heading towards the end of the film. So, again, that's just a me problem. I'm not expecting you guys to have that, but that is just why I can't fully love this movie, is even in movies like Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, the other Russo brothers directed movies, I don't feel exhausted by the end of those. I feel like I want more. Honestly, I feel like I want to watch it again and again and again and never get exhausted from it. And this one is just one that, you know, like, I can watch it once and then I wait like 3 months until I want to watch it again. And Infinity War, Endgame, Civil War, the other Russo brothers directed movies aren't like that. And so, but I think this film is a really great audition tape for the Russo brothers, directing-wise inside the MCU. I think it's got great action, great characters, great arcs. I love this story, and, you know, the first Russo brothers MCU movie works. I just can't fully love it. Before I give you my final score, if you will, subscribe and like button, hit the bell. Use that comment section. What are your opinions on Winter Soldier? Am I crazy? Do you guys full on love this one? Or are you like me, where you really like it, but you can't ever enter the love zone? And with that said, I'm going to give Captain America the Winter Soldier an A-. So thank you guys for clicking on this video. And with that said, next up we're reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy this weekend. Subscribe.